All right, we are back. The Throne Bros. Another week, another episode of the House of the Dragon. Uh, it's your host Nando, and here with the three-eye Raven. What's up?
What's going on, world? My Game of Throners, my House of Dragoners, the Fire and Icers. Welcome back to the old listeners, the new listeners. Just shout out to anyone that's just consuming the you know the podcast, the YouTube. Shout out to shout out to y'all.
Yes. So we thank you for the support. Keep it going. Share it with your friends. Comment, subscribe. The main thing, all that. Yeah, another episode of House of the Dragon. This week is this episode 3 of the season called The Burning Mill. So
Yep.
right off the bat, we start with it's not a random scene, but we start in the Riverlands. We get House of Blackwood and the Brackens.
Yep.
It seems to be that they've always had a heated rivalry about territory and that part of the Riverlands, so they're always fighting. And then the Brackens, I guess, have declared from the words for Aegon, and then the Blackwoods have declared for Rhaenyra, and words were said. A battle ensues, and all we see is carnage. I don't even think I saw somebody that was alive.
Yeah. They didn't really show anything. I wish they would have showed some of the battle. Because the shot that they had, like, with all the bodies and shit, like, that was a pretty dope shot. I wish there was more to the battle than just that one scene.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because we see the beginning and then the end.
Yeah,
What
pretty much.
caused it and then what ended it.
Yeah.
So that's how we start. Uh, Next scene is the burial of the Erics, the twins at Dragonstone. They're saying some words. Rhaenyra's watching that. Jace is there with her. Uh, Jace kind of starts to question, like, why are we doing this kind of thing to an extent, a little bit. Uh,
Well, he's kind of eager
yes,
to to do something because he asked Rhaenyra, like, yeah, well, what about the people that plotted this?
yes,
So he wants to take action.
yes. So Jace is ready. Everybody's antsy. That's the one thing this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Winter is coming.
whoa, button slipped.
Oh.
Uh, that's the one thing that we can get from this episode. Uh, Same ceremony right behind her as well. After Luke steps away, Rhaenys starts kind of spitting some wisdom at Rhaenyra in her ear, like she has been to an extent. If you really want to call it, I think she might be the hand of the queen, honestly,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this point without the title. So yeah, I mean, she kind of reminded Rhaenyra of things that have happened and that could happen, and the fact that, hey, you have a best friend over there. Just remember that. I saw something in her eyes that I don't, to me, it looked like, it wasn't. Uh, she doesn't want this either. So that gets Rhaenyra thinking, obviously, for the rest of the episode that we will, talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it flips over to Cole in his, I guess, his chambers. He's in a room somewhere, just like looking at a chair, I guess, thinking. Uh, I don't know, being brooding. I don't know what he's doing, but I guess a squire or one of the people that works there says, hey, Sir Cole, hey, they're waiting for you, which leads to his first council meeting as hand.
Yeah.
Everybody's already there. Um, it looks like they're already talking. Um, but he gets there and automatically he proposes. Well, him and Allison are like going back and forth about what's right, what's not right. Like the plan with Eric, and he says that Eric at least had the, like, for lack of a better term, the balls to set, like, the balls to do something instead of waiting, you know what I mean, and sitting back or whatever. And she said maybe that wasn't smart of a plan, even though, like, you think it's courageous that somebody wanted to do something. Uh he proposes that he wants to go to the Riverlands himself with a few men of his, and ride out and take the Riverlands to eventually take Harrenhal, because Harrenhal is where he thinks this war will be won. Uh, Obviously, everybody seems to think that, everywhere on both sides.
Yeah.
Uh, Aegon wants to ride out. Well, Aegon says that
He wants to send Aemon.
he wants to aim in
Invade.
with his dragon, and Cole says no. Dragon's staying to watch over the city. So nixes that. And then Aegon suggests that wants to go out.
Yeah.
So he's
With his
eager.
dragon. Yeah.
We know why Aegon's eager. Aegon's eager to prove himself because people think he's a pussy or a joke or whatever. So he's trying to do anything possible to get out there.
Yeah. So basically, Cole shuts it down, because he's trying to be a little sneaky. He's trying to, be on the 007, sneak around to the houses and not make a lot of noise. So, he's telling them, nah, we don't need any dragons, and we're trying to move from here to here. Wop wop wop, quick.
And the many faced God people, kind of, but without switching faces, is what he's trying to do, kind of. Just saying.
Yeah. So
Um,
another thing from this meeting, right? Kind of before the whole plan with Cole, they do bring up the battle of the Blackwoods and the Brackens, and something that the Lannister, I forget his first name, but the Lannister that's on the council, he says that it wasn't really a victory, like it was just kind of like it was just they were just fighting. No one really came out on top. Like both sides took heavy losses. But Aemon does mention that Lord Blackwood did die. So I guess that's like a point for the Greens. But
yeah.
like that battle was really just kind of like a slaughter on each side. No one really profited from it.
Yeah, and that was kind of downplayed a little bit because they, one of them, I think it was the same one, kind of pointed out like they fight all the time. So like,
Yeah.
like we don't know if we want to call this anything, but
Well, another thing, we don't know like the amount of people that were in that battle, like for that scene that they showed. Like it could have just been what, maybe like 100 men or something. Like instead of like thousands. Like so we don't really know the size of how big the battle was, at least.
true. Um, yeah. So is that everything you got from the meeting there?
Yeah, I think
Any
that
other
was
points I
pretty
might
much
have
it.
missed?
No,
Uh,
that was it.
all right. So then we go back to Dragonstone and Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's talking to the White Worm.
Yeah.
She tells her, I heard you try to warn. White Worm says, obviously I wasn't believed at first. And then, turns out she was right.
Well, I wonder when she got that warning,
Mm-hmm.
because like in the last episode, Rhaenyra was going to bed. Like she wasn't expecting someone to, sneak and try to kill her. Like especially the twin of the, her Kingsguard. Like what information was relayed to Rhaenyra that helped? Like that's what I want to know.
Yeah,
Because she was still in the room when they started fighting. Like
this is true.
unless 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 the White Worm told what's it called, Sir Eric Arik, whatever,
Yeah,
the one that was on Rhaenyra's side, unless she told him like, hey, I saw your brother, and
yeah,
maybe that's but we don't know. Yeah.
yeah. So then they talk, and it's kind of they're talking about like rewards for like saving her technically, and the fact that like they talked about why like how why the white worm stayed, uh, and all that. So they get into something that it kind of. What did she say she wants as a reward? Because it wasn't money. I forget. I
She said
didn't.
she wanted a place in her court. So basically, she
Yes,
wanted to be one of her, you know,
people.
one of her councils.
Yeah. So she leaves that open ended, and I think the way that one ends is she says, "Don't take my." Was it kind? Not the word wasn't kindness that she used, but the word that she like said, "Don't take it as pliancy" or something like that, or
Yeah.
pliancy. So that kind of that interaction kind of leaves like open ended, um, and it opens the door for something later that happens later in the episode. Uh, Next we go to Rhaenyra telling Rhaena of the plans with the kids. Obviously, she's sending Rhaena and the younger kids, the babies, basically, to Pentos. Uh,
Well, at first they're going to the Vale.
yes, for because they're dropping off
Yeah, and then
Jaharis, right?
those, yeah.
So,
So
so yeah.
yeah, that and you could tell Raina isn't really too happy.
No, no, it's good because I think this is part of the theme that we laid out in a little bit ago. Everybody's antsy. Like Raina, everybody wants to prove themselves, man, women, children who are like close to this thing. Obviously, I'm sure there's people in the soldiers that want to prove themselves, but like people inside the immediate families want to prove themselves. They're antsy. Reina seems to be one of them. She doesn't like the fact that she's getting sent to Pentos where her mother died. Well, first of all, and then not being around, riding a dragon, helping out because Bayla has already been given an assignment, her sister. So it's kind of like to her, it's kind of I guess you could say a slap in the face. And we kind of see it there as Rhaenyra is telling her you going to the Vale first, and then you're going to Pentos. That's the safest they could be. You kind of see her disappointment there. It comes back again in a little bit, in this episode, but she's not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody wants a piece. Everybody's antsy. Everybody wants a piece. Uh, Next up, as we continue, Damon arrives at Heron Hall to no resistance. um, he goes through the halls. Nobody's there. You can kind of feel people running, I guess, or like whatever. He finds a guard who doesn't really want to fight, but he knocks him the hell out, and then goes into the dining hall, basically of the person in charge, and is one of the Strongs.
Yep,
Uh,
Simon
uh,
Strong. He's
Simon
the uncle.
Strong.
He's the uncle of Lionel
Okay.
Strong.
Yes, and Lyris, right?
Well, he's Laris's dad's uncle.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, with no resistance, he's like, I'm taking Harrenhal, and then he's like, okay, like,
yeah. I mean, you could tell. I think it was just pretty much the people in the room. That was like everybody at Harrenhal,
yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
yeah.
so it wasn't
So
much. It wasn't much of a fight.
wasn't much of a fight. they basically he tells them like, dinner, there's venison and peas, and then um do they cut away right away? Because I don't think
Nah, so basically, uh,
they go right to dinner.
yeah. So Damon sits down and starts to eat. Well, I don't know if he was eating because there was like a joke about poison peas or something, and but basically they're sitting there conversating while they're having dinner, and he Damon brings up Laris, like, hey, isn't Laris your lord? And Simon's like, nah, man, we don't mess with him.
Yeah, we don't.
we don't we don't mess with him. Like so basically he comes out and he's like, I know what he did. You know, fires don't just start around here.
Yeah, it's
Like
very
that was
damp and
that was
whatever
the first fire since way back when. Like,
with your great
you
uncle
know,
or whatever it was.
yeah,
Like,
he, since one of the Targaryens,
yeah, burn the place down.
burned. Yeah, yeah. So he was like, yeah, we don't mess with him. We know what he is. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So yeah, they had that little talk about the strong family, Laris, whatever. And then basically Damon is telling him like, yeah, we're here in Harrenhal. We're trying to get the troops gathered up here, and I want to talk to your lords. I want to talk to whoever. So basically he's kind of recruiting like some of the
yeah,
houses in the Riverlands. That way they could form up the army and whatnot.
yeah. So then we go to back to King's Landing. Cole's getting ready to leave on his little thing. We see Allison's brother. Is this her main brother, or does he have more than one?
I think this is her only brother. I
Okay.
think.
Because I don't
And
remember him from last time. I know he was there in season one at one point, but then like,
I would have to double check, but yeah, I think
yeah.
that.
So he's there. Um, basically, she tells Cole, "Hey, my brother's back. He wants to join." Cole's like, "We're full. You can," and she's like, "You can be fuller." Like, and then well, kind of a little bit before that, as they do introductions, her brother kind of takes a shot, like, I've been for 3 months looking for my father, like, who was kicked out after serving three kings, and yeah. So there's little jabs taken and everything, and like Cole tries to take jabs back after he's like, "Are you sure you can do this? We're gonna cover a lot of ground or whatever." He's like, "I'm good." Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then he finally, I guess, has to agree with it because the queen's kind of like, "Yeah, he's joining you," like whatever. He at the end of the day, even though they're in a weird moment, he has to kind of be in the middle with Allison. So he has to kind of like not piss her off, even though like they're kind of pissed at each other, but
yeah,
not really. They're just in this weird place. She gives him the blessing from the seven as she goes, and then before she leaves, he asks for her blessing, like
her favor.
her favor, which, I mean, she doesn't answer back, but she gives him, is it a handkerchief?
Yeah,
Yeah, that she took out of her bosom or whatever, her dress. But so yeah, and then like I think brother kind of notices that from the outside.
yeah. He's staring.
Yeah. Next scene up, there's some game planning at Dragonstone, where basically they're getting restless too a little bit. The her council, because there's another one as well. This isn't the only meeting. There's gonna be another one where they're more restless than they were before, but her people are questioning a little bit. You know what I mean? They're getting restless to some degree. Um, it ends like Rhaenyra walks away, ends with Rhaenys leaving them with a message like,
Well, before that, uh, they like you were saying, the members of the council, they're getting antsy, and they want to start using the dragons, and Rhaenyra, she's hesitant to start fighting, uh, but they wanted Rhaenyra to leave. That way they could like stay there and run the war like kind of without her. And she's like, "Hey, listen, no, that's treason. Like, y'all ain't getting rid of me. Like, the fuck."
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that happens, that's when Rhaenyra gets up and walks away. And Rhaenys, when she's about to leave, she's like, "Hey, Rhaenyra's wearing the crown of my grandfather. He's the wisest king that there's ever been. So you know, have some respect. Like, Rhaenyra's, she's trying to be wise. She's trying to, take I guess the smarter route, the less bloody route of
Yes.
the options. So yeah, she just had to throw that in there, let them know, like, hey, y'all gotta trust her. You know.
Yes. 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 Um. Yeah. Which then they leave, or at least Rhaenys and Rhaenyra left. Cuts to a scene. Rhaenys is with Corlys. They are talking. They keep meeting because obviously she's kind of like going back and forth, like helping the watch of the blockade and all that. So she's going back and forth from Dragonstone to where they're at, and they're meeting. She's filling him in on what's going on, obviously, because he's over there. Uh, they kind of get into like a little bit of a disagreement there about like because he's also getting angsty. Like if something happens, I'm ready to go, and she's like
Mhm.
kind of on the side, like you got people to do that, like you don't have to like, and the whole Reina, he tells her about Reina being sent, and and like they kind of talk about, she brings him up like, yeah, well, your heirs, like whatever, like going over this, like, well, he's 6, he's never seen the sea, he doesn't like,
Yeah.
so they have I wouldn't say a disagreement, but like I don't know, they have a little thing about.
So Rhaenys also suggests making Rhaena the Lord of Driftmark.
Yes.
And Corlys is like, well, she doesn't know anything about the seas. Like, she doesn't know anything about dragons. Like, you know, it's no good. It's no good.
Yeah. And then obviously he kind of leaves. She kind of didn't want him to leave. So like kind of like the meeting ends, he leaves. He says he's good, but whatever. I guess she's still feeling like, she knows her husband, nothing without nothing. He's gonna keep thinking about that. That's not the last time they'll bring that up or whatever. Um which Reina was kind of the main thing. The secession was kind of the main topic of the conversation. And then the next scene it goes to when they're getting ready to send Reina off. Uh with the kids, and Bela, the older sister, kind of tells her like, "Hey, like this is a very important thing that you're doing. Like don't diminish it." Which Bela's like, "Stop patronizing me." You know what I mean? Like, I know what it is. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And then Bela's trying to give her the positives because like Bela to me comes off as the how do I say it, the loyal one. Like
Yeah, more serving, I
yeah,
guess.
more serving. She believes in
Yeah,
her
more.
her
Yeah.
stepmother, and you know what I mean, like,
Mhm.
her dad obviously, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, she tries to comfort them. um this is what you're doing is good, obviously. Everybody says their goodbyes. um Jason with his little brother, uh Rhaenyra to the kids, and then she shows them the dragon eggs that are there, to hatch, and that she's also taken some smaller ones, right, with her.
So there's 2 dragons that are already hatched that are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 4 eggs that
Yeah.
she's sending off, which just so happen to be the eggs
That's what I thought.
The eggs from Game of Thrones. Those are Daenerys's eggs.
That's what I thought.
Supposedly, I don't know.
That's what I thought. When I
Yeah.
saw them, I knew there was a purpose why they showed them. There's
Yeah.
4, so I'm guessing one actually hatches. The other one's, whatever
Yeah.
we know. So,
Well, I mean, I'm sure it'll play out later on in the season, but something happens at sea, like when they're traveling.
okay.
So yeah, that's something to look out for. Yeah.
Yeah. So from a goodbye, we get a scene with Allison and Helena, where Helena's kind of like, "Hey, like I do feel bad about Jaharis," and then Allison kind of comforts her in the fact that like, "Hey, like pain's part of being a mother. Like, don't it's part of it." Helena's kind of like, like she talks about the people that she felt like when she was having that panic attack or whatever. She felt like did she say like she felt like the people like wanted to hurt more than her about it or something like that? Is that what?
Yeah, it was something along those lines. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something
Yeah.
like that.
But that was small. I mean, might come back to that conversation. Might come back later. Um, then it
Well,
switches.
she,
Yeah,
well, Helena ends up like saying sorry, like
to
to Allison.
Allison, which makes her kind of get emotional. And
Or no. She
I
says,
forgive
"I
you.
forgive you. I forgive you." Not, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. She said, I forgive you." But I wonder if that's because right before that, she asked her like, "Oh, like, did you care about Jairus or something like that?" And she was
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, I cared, but like, I'm more worried about you. Like, what's going on with you?" So I don't know if she took that as like, "All right, well, you don't really care,
Hmm.
about what happened." Like, maybe she's thinking about like maybe she actually did see Allison with Cole, and that's like maybe
Yeah.
that's
It finally came back.
yeah. She's
She
like
got out of the
that's
shock.
yeah.
So
So I mean, I don't know what she was, uh, forgiving her for, but she told her, "I forgive you." But yeah. So yeah, after that,
after
I'm sorry.
that, we go to Aegon getting fitted
Yeah.
because he wants to go out. He's still, whatever. You know, our boy Laris comes in and he's always lurking. He wants to talk to the king. He gets his audience and he starts telling the biggest lie because he's playing the game and, swinging people on his side and things. And he tells Aegon basically the lie of, "Hey, you're going out to battle. That was a plan plotted between your mom and the council so that you're out here and she can stay and rule with Aemon
Amen. Yeah.
and why you're out there, and then the possibility of you dying, and things like that. So
Yeah.
he,
That was that was that was a wild move. But
yes,
that was a wild move.
it's a wild move, but he's always lurking, so he knew kind of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like in a way, like he knew like this is how he's gonna touch it because he kind of like he's always lurking, so he kind of sensed that there was something like he could touch that point with them or with
Yeah.
him and them or whatever. So basically, at the end of their conversation, it seems like Aegon's taking that in and it kind of hits him like, oh, okay. And he says, "Hey, my father never wanted a master whisperers, but I'd be honored to have you be mine." So he basically offers it to him, like without anointing him, but just kind of like says it. And then
Yeah.
Lyra says, he basically thanks him. Like,
You honor me, my
yeah,
lord.
yeah. And then like right before some comments are said by him and the King's Guard and about going out, and they end up going out. Aegon ends up going out to welcome in this new squire. In before Aegon gets to the whorehouse, is it the whorehouse? No, it's the bar. Before Aegon gets to the bar, there's this guy claiming who we saw when the people got hung,
Yeah.
the rat catchers. This guy who kind of has some dirty white hair. You know what I mean? Not fully silver, I should say, not fully silver. He's telling his buddies that he's the bastard son of, uh Damon and Viserys's dad.
Balon.
he's their bastard brother, and that the true king is Rhaenyra, and like the true heir is Jace, and that, and Risey says Jace, like the king walks in, and then like Aegon comes in, and that the bar the Aegon says everything's on the king or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they tune the party continues to a whorehouse where Aegon's trying to get him laid. And they walk into Damon and his lady whore, which
Yeah.
Aegon continues to make fun of him because that was, I guess, the first person that Damon lost his V card to, and like they were laying together, and
Yeah.
kind of gets mad, leaves, and said she's welcome to anyone, and then we see
Yeah.
him without the patch, so we see the eye. I think that was like on purpose.
He tries to play it off like, man, it's just another hoe. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you can tell he was kind of holding back some I guess some aggression,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, he's probably gonna think about that later on.
All right. So we're getting close to the end here. So it goes to Rhaenyra. She's kind of looking at the toys, reminiscing in her chambers. She goes to put some of those toys away in this little box that she has. And then in that box, she finds the letter from Alicent, which is planting the seed for the final scene of this episode.
Yeah.
Um, then it's the scene. I'm gonna speed up a little bit. If I miss something, let me know because we're up against it, unfortunately. But it goes to Cole on the road. Obviously, he's having a little discussion with Allison's brother because he's like, "Yeah, we should go to the inns," and he's trying to have some fun in between, I guess, like
Yeah.
this long drive. And then Cole realizes like something going on. There's a dragon around. It's Bela,
Yeah.
her dragon. She kind of chases them into the woods, and then she gets the intel basically. Which the next scene is she reports back to the council. This is what I'm talking about with the
Yeah.
council.
Quick intervention.
Yeah,
It looked like Bela was nice with the dragon riding, like
yeah.
the way she was maneuvering. But yeah, uh, she reports back.
Yeah, she reports back to the council back at Dragonstone, and they're getting even more antsy. They're like, "We gotta, you know where they're going? We gotta go there. Like, do this, like." And yeah, like
Yeah,
they're
and
like, "We gotta act. We gotta act. We gotta do something. Like, send the
yeah,
dragons, get Cole. Like, at least get Cole. Like handle him. Like, because they feel like that'll be like
yeah.
it
So they think Cole's gonna get more people and more
on his way up.
dragons.
Yeah,
So they trying to convince Rhaenyra like, hey, we gotta act now, get the dragons going. But she's just kind of like, yeah, I'll think about it.
before we get to the last scene, Damon at Harrenhal again. He's in his chambers that he's staying at, and then he starts having visions
Yeah,
of maybe some guilt that he might have towards things. You see a younger Rhaenyra tells him, what was said or something that got to him.
yeah. I don't remember the exact quote,
But he ends
but
up basically in real life, he ends up outside of his room and like,
well, one thing I want to mention is that during that scene, Rhaenyra was sewing up a head like on a child's
yeah,
body,
yeah,
and I don't know who the child was. Like if that was like a son or a daughter that he had, or his sister or something. Like I
yeah,
don't, I don't know what that meant, but I'm
yeah,
sure we'll figure it out.
yeah. So then he's told by that one weird chick from Harrenhal that I think she's part of the family, I think, and she tells Damon, "You'll die here." So
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but she's kind of like a witch type of
I
type
got
of
that vibe.
vibes. Yeah,
Yes, Evanescence and shit.
yeah,
But then after that, Rhaenyra meets with the White Worm. She's trying to find out what she knows about Alicent and her movements, so that she can get to Alicent and form of a plan, just like how Damon got into the Red Keep and in the city. She's trying to get in. The White Worm says it's kind of dangerous. She's never alone, you know. And then Rhaenyra's like, "How if they recognize me?" And she's like, "You'll be surprised." Um, you know, like what people don't remember if you're not wearing like fancy clothes.
Yeah.
Which basically leads to the next scene, the boat going into King's Landing. Then you see Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's dressed like one of the nuns or the people from the Shame people.
Yeah, yeah.
Seven, I guess it's what
So
they are,
you know
right?
what's funny?
Yeah.
The one character that was doing the shame thing, like she like tweeted out and was like, "Hey, that's my outfit." Like, so yeah, that was cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, so she's
So
walking in.
she's walking in. Her guard stays outside, obviously, because you know. And Allison's praying. A couple seconds later, Rhaenyra comes in. She sticks out the knife, just to let her know, like, hey. But then she's like, "What if I scream? Then I would kill you." And then like, kill me. And then she was like, "Sorry, I came a little aggressive, I guess."
Yeah,
And then they start talking. They start going back and forth about, I know you don't want this. So Rhaenyra tells Allison, like, Allison's giving her things back, like, you already did some things, and she's like, that wasn't by my part. But she doesn't spill the fact that it was Damon,
yeah,
obviously. They start going back and forth. Rhaenyra keeps questioning her, like, I'm the promised one, or not the promised one. I'm the one my father wanted there.
yeah,
Um, then she's like, no, he said it, when he was dying. And then like she's like, how was he when he was dying? Allison was like, he was weary. Uh, but what did he say? Rhaenyra asked, and she mentioned Aegon, and she talked
yeah. The
about the
prince,
prince
the
that
prince I never know.
promised,
Yeah,
which lit Rhaenyra up.
yeah.
And this is the big thing. Obviously, the only one that would know is a 3-hour raven like you, is that no, he didn't tell anyone but Rhaenyra. So it's hard for them to believe and know the story because nobody knows of the vision of the story. Just like Damon didn't know the story, or a couple episodes ago when she brought it up. Um, so when she says the one that's promised, and the fact that he said the word Aegon, she lits up. She's like, "You're wrong. Like you've been wrong
Nah,
this
she
whole
she
time."
was like, "Oh, he told you," and she's like, "Nah, he didn't tell me."
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, Rhaenyra tells her like, "Yeah, that's just a story he tells about Aegon, the Conqueror."
yes, the Conqueror. And then you can see Allison's face change because she's like, Allison's smart. She
Yeah, I
knows.
mean, well, during that scene, both of their faces, like they're like you could tell, like
Yeah.
because Rhaenyra kind of like it clicks for her, like, oh, she didn't really know, like,
She
and then
didn't know the
Allison's like, oh,
story. She
like,
doesn't know what
oh,
he was talking about, what she
yeah,
heard, what he was like going about. And then she realizes, like, oh, okay, like the reason why he said Aegon, I guess it's something and something
yeah,
else to do. And like,
mm,
even though we know she's kind of lying and running with a lie, but like, she believes it's the truth, obviously. But
yeah.
yeah, which leaves us with a lot of questions. No action yet for you guys. I mean, besides the Blackwoods, but we didn't see it, like Al said. We just kind of saw the beginning and the end. But yeah. Um, anything you think will happen next week? It'll be episode 4. Before we wrap up here.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the events in the book and the events in the show, they're kind of out of order. But we're probably going to see Cole, recruiting some of the small houses, maybe some tension uh, between some of the houses in the Riverlands. So we might see some smaller fighting. I don't think we're going to see any big like battles. But yeah, I think the next episode is probably more so strategic than it is
Yeah.
action based.
I think we'll see more anxiousness, antsy. People being antsy, not anxious.
Yeah,
Also that too, to get out and do something. And we'll see
yeah,
if we might get the first. I mean, the first stone was already thrown, but like out in the open, I guess maybe we'll see. Um, yeah, I did. Like I said, I always see the preview, but I just see it, but I don't remember a lot of it because it's not important. Like I still like to be kind of not shocked, but look forward to the episode
Yeah.
for the next week. The it was a I think it was a cool episode. I mean, a lot of no action happened, but we did get some revealings of some things. Obviously, Laris being Laris. I mean, Laris being Laris with the scheming. Cole wanting to take charge because the soldier in him is still in him, obviously, and I think Rhaenys for me stood out a lot because like I said, she's been in Rhaenyra's ear trying to get her to make the wise decisions. So, but yeah, that was it for this week, folks. We thank you for tuning in to the Throne Bros. Like I said, we appreciate all the support, all the stuff, and keep watching. We'll keep talking.
My watch is ended.
Peace.